The conclusion is obvious. Leaving $12 billion in the private sector will produce a higher standard of living for Massachusetts residents. Just ask yourself, what would our standard of living be today if billions in tax revenues had been diverted from waste, fraud, and abuse in the government sector and been left in the private economy each year for the last 50 years? Wouldn't your economic prospects be improved? Wouldn't your family be better off? Now let's move on to the rest of the story, checking the horse's teeth. Getting to keep more of what you earn is hardly a gift, but as with any gift horse, it makes sense to check the teeth. So here are some toothy questions. How much does the state spend? What percentage of state spending is devoted to education and public safety? And how much does the state need to provide reasonable service levels? So if you want to know how much Massachusetts spends annually, you ask the comptroller. And specifically, you read the statutory basis financial report. We're going to take a look at the latest available one, which was for fiscal year 2007. Recognize that we're in 2009 now. In fiscal year 2007, education and public safety represented less than 10% of state spending. If you look on page 312 of the report, you'll find that for education, the state of Massachusetts spent $2.9 billion total. $518 million for early education and care, $1.26 billion for K through 12 education, and $1.15 billion for higher education. If you look at public safety and homeland security, Massachusetts spent $1.25 billion. The total spending in fiscal year 2007 was $44.9 billion. So you can see the essential services of education and public safety, which totaled a little over $4 billion, is less than 10% of total state spending. So what budget does the state really need? Let's take a look at New Hampshire's state budget on a per capita basis. Using the conventional budget figures, not the total budget figures including off-budget spending that we just looked at, Massachusetts spends $5,203 per capita. New Hampshire spends $3,321 per capita. The difference of $1,882 more spent in Massachusetts than in New Hampshire for every man, woman, and child. If you multiply that difference by the Massachusetts population, you get a figure of over $12 billion, which is approximately the reduction that will occur if the income tax is eliminated in Massachusetts. But that's only the conventional budget, not the total budget spent by the state of Massachusetts. If you use total spending, the case is even stronger. From the U.S. Census Bureau and the Tax Foundation, Massachusetts spends $9,620 per capita. New Hampshire, $6,905 per capita. The difference is $2,715 for every resident of the state. If Massachusetts reduced its total spending per capita to New Hampshire's levels, we would spend $17 to $18 billion less every year. That's 40% more than the loss in the income tax revenue, which is only $12 billion. The No on Question 1 forces like to characterize letting the private sector keep the $12 billion it earned and allowing it to spend it efficiently to produce the goods and services you need as reckless. But that is not reckless. What is reckless is the self-serving union campaign. Remember, 99.8% funded by special interest unions to protect their special privileges at the public's expense. What's reckless is the diversion of precious capital from the productive private sector to the bloated and wasteful public sector, which destroys jobs and lowers our standard of living. What's reckless is excessively rich pensions. These are defined benefit pensions, rapid vesting schedules, and a high percentage of final salary paid out in retirement benefits. What's reckless is health insurance with very high benefits and low employee contributions. In most cases, less than 20% are paid by the public employees, much less than employees pay in the private sector. In the public sector, there are excessive sick days, not only allowed but used, personal days, vacation, and overtime. This is reckless. But there's more. There's the prevailing wage scam. There's the police details. There's compulsory bargaining. And then there's outright scams, faked disabilities, no-show and patronage jobs, nepotism. What about insurance regulations that restrict competition in the state, which lead to some of the highest health and auto insurance rates in the United States? You've seen the ads by Geico to call them and see what a good rate you can get on your car insurance. Did you ever call them? Well, they won't offer you insurance in Massachusetts, thanks to the state of Massachusetts regulations. And then there's the government union monopolies that are designed to avoid competition, even from other public sources like charter schools. There's bloat, waste, fraud, and abuse in the state government. It's reckless, it's risky, and it's damn irresponsible. Don't send a message on November 4th. Just vote yes on question 1 on November 4th to end the income tax for good. Ensure that we have a healthy economy, more jobs, and a growing standard of living. Then, after the income tax is ended, you can send a message to the legislature. A Hallmark card would be nice. Tell them to fund essential services, public safety, and education. Then, prioritize the other needs. And when they have spent the very last dollar of tax revenues, stop. Thank you for listening. And on November 4th, please vote yes on question 1.